under the theme of the future of work and the topic of how we can manage the unpredictable future of work. We want to welcome Nicholas Fernholm. Nicholas, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
We can hear you beautifully. Take us into the future of work.
Perfect. Thank you so much, and thank you all for being here today. Before we begin, I would like to say that I truly believe that no matter what problems most businesses are facing today, and it sounds crazy, but I believe that what we're going to talk about now is more important. And I'd even take it one step further and say that most likely what we're going to talk about now is probably the root cause of the issue. Now, what we're going to talk about is the problem with the way that we solve problems and the fundamental mismatch between a complex and unpredictable world and the way that we try to control it. My name is Nicholas Fernholm, and I am a public speaker on the topics of managing complexity and uncertainty. And I have a passion for this topic mostly because of my childhood. I grew up in a fairly uncertain environment. And because of this, I wanted to take control of where I was and where I was heading. So when I was going to choose what I wanted to study, I of course chose logistics, right? Because what is more predictable than a supply line or a production line that spits out the same product every single day? If I can control A enough, I can control the future and make it safe. And I think that most of us feel that we are moving into a more unpredictable and complex world. This is not only because of the pandemic or crazy political decisions, but also because of technology. We had a dream that technology was going to create a world where we could make predictions, we could pave the way to where we wanted to go, and we could control the travel there. But it turns out that the opposite is happening. All of these technologies are becoming interconnected and affecting each other and ourselves as humans, and we are affecting the technology back. We are becoming an intertwined, complex, adaptive system that is having unpredictable consequences on our lives and on our businesses. Now, I think that there is a fundamental law that is more relevant in this world than ever before. And that law is even featured in EU's field guide for managing complexity and chaos, which is written by Dave Snowden. This law is called Ashby's Law of Requisite Variety. What this law states is that when the variety or complexity in an environment is greater than a system inside that environment, then that system will eventually degrade and die. Now, what that means is that for the system to be able to survive, it has to have at least the same capacity for variety and complexity as the environment it's acting in. So if you and I were thrown into the wilderness where the temperature rises rapidly and drops down rapidly, we need to act at the same pace as the environment is changing. And it doesn't matter if the environment is pandemic, crazy politics, inflation, global supply chains, or advancing technology, or global warming, or all of these things at the same time. Now, I got to face this head on during the pandemic. I was one of the logistics managers for building a temporary hospital for COVID patients outside of Stockholm. Now, this hospital was going to house 600 patients, and we built this hospital in 2 weeks. What happened there was that the rate at which we were changing was greater than my capacity to control the change. I had to fundamentally redefine what it meant for me to work. I had to redefine what it meant for me to cooperate, coordinate, manage problems, and be a leader for my team. Every single person had to become an innovator, not an employee. Every single person had the freedom to act and the responsibility for their actions. And every single person failed. That was okay. An example of this was a donation that came in. It was 3D printed by a guy who was living next door neighbor to the hospital, and the donation contained 10 of these. He had written, or he had read on his online forums that a news article that these were going to help alleviate the pain from the face mask behind your ears for healthcare workers. So he thought, maybe this could help. And when I held this in my hand, I thought, maybe this could help. So I went to the ICU unit and they took all 10 of them. They gave me some feedback on how to make this better because they were experiencing so much pain. Together with him, we iteratively tested different prototypes, and this was the last one. This was the finished product. So I went to the supply team and said what we had done, and they said, great, this is a huge problem. Now we need 10,000 of these in 1 week. I had no idea what I was doing. I did not have control. We had one 3D printer. But we were acting with fear. We were not acting from fear. I started networking. I talked to every single person I knew, and finally I got a hold of a voluntary organization which already had a network of 10,000 people around Sweden who had 3D printers and wanted to help. So we sent this drawing out in that network, and the next day, thousands of these poured in. We got enough of these to send to other regions outside of Stockholm as well. Now, the magical thing with this is that the news article that triggered him sending 10 of these to me was about a 12-year-old Boy Scout in Canada named Quinn, who did the exact same thing. He printed a solution for his mom and her colleagues who were nurses. Now, we did this without a single PowerPoint, budget, process, project, or plan. We were not acting to take control. We were acting to change at the same pace as the environment was changing. When the environment is unpredictable, the only way that we can make what seems to be impossible possible is to find and allow unpredictable solutions. This mode of acting with freedom to innovate, freedom to try crazy ideas, and freedom to change is not the default way that we act when we face uncertainty. It's a choice. It's a choice to act from fear or with fear. We tend to, as human beings, to act from fear, to try to take control, make it safe, make everything predictable. A friend of mine was working as a crisis coordinator during 2014. At this time, one of the largest forest fires were raging through Sweden. He was sent there to try to help the coordination between 4 fire departments. So he went to one of the fire departments and asked them, where is your fire marshal? And they said that, oh, he's out putting out a part of the forest fire. So he went out to the forest fire, and lo and behold, there was the fire marshal standing bravely with his fire hose in hand. Now, this fire marshal knew exactly what he was doing. He was following his routines, his instructions, his process, and his best practice. He was doing what made him feel like he was in control, like he was safe in the moment. The crisis coordinator went up to the fire marshal and asked him, where is the fire spreading in your municipality? The fire marshal responded, I don't know, it's spreading everywhere. Then he asked him, well, do you know if the fire is spreading to any of the other, any residential area in any of the other 3 municipalities, whereas you should actually send your resources to those fire departments? The fire marshal responded, "I don't know. We don't talk to each other." Now, this is not a breakdown in communication. This is not even bad crisis management. This is being in an environment that is rapidly changing and doing the same thing we did yesterday. We tend to seek shelter in the things that we know, the predictable. We try to hold on to the few things that are stable when the environment is not. Now, the unpredictable future of work is not what will be the challenge or even the downfall for many organizations. It is organizations acting from a control mindset that will be their downfall. Those who can let go of control when the problems they face are complex, uncertain, and unpredictable, they will radically innovate. They will try crazy ideas. And just like a 12-year-old boy in Canada, helping tens of thousands of healthcare workers in Sweden, these organizations will find unpredictable solutions in an unpredictable future of work. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nicholas, for that very timely speech. The 2020s have been a huge roller coaster of a VUCA world that is very unpredictable. So what you just told us is extremely valuable. I don't see any questions in the chat for you. Oh yes, they're coming in. A bit of a delay, but I finally got this. I think is a very good question. So Katrina is asking you, what are the daily practices you can apply to stay flexible and prepare for uncertainties?
I'd say try to identify which problems are we facing that are complex and uncertain, where we cannot use best practice, where we can't normally use our instructions and policies. And when we finally identify those problems, for example, marketing is a very good example where you iteratively try to find an evolution of a solution, not a revolution. You evolve, you emerge the solution, not revolutionize the solution.
Thank you for these important insights, Nicholas. Thank you so much.
Thank you.